Well, glory be and mercy me. We've done it yet again. Here we are, daily walk around the graveyard. As you can see, it's a winter wonderland today. Big snow yesterday, right as the Trudeau administration moved in, arrested key figures in the convoy. People like Tamara Litch get picked up by the police. They're going to start clearing out these encampments, clearing out this occupation, if you prefer. And they're doing it by evoking, for the first time in the history of Canada, evoking the Emergency Measures Act. I've been seeing lots of quote-unquote leftists, right? People who are coming out and saying, yeah, use that Emergency Measures Act. These guys are white supremacists. Let's clear them out and all of that. And it hurts me. It actually causes me physical pain to talk about this subject because it's so short-sighted. It's exactly the divide of the working class that we've been talking about this entire time. And it seems to be all done without the awareness that they're going to use the Emergencies Act on us, right? Like, that's what this is actually all about, right? That we seem to have lost the forest for the trees on this particular issue. Like, the purpose of this channel, what I am trying to do, and what I have been trying to do for quite some time now, is get people into the streets. I've been calling for the surrounding of the halls of power. I've been calling for us to redraw our constitution, right? For us to confront capital directly, in very much in the fashion of the film A Bug's Life, where we all stand up and realize, wait a minute, we outnumber these guys quite a lot. And what have they now shown us directly in front of our faces? That they are more than willing to evoke an Emergency Measures Act that, incidentally, they likely don't have they haven't met the what's the word I'm even looking for? The criteria. They haven't met the criteria in order to actually evoke this act, which is leading to a civil dispute and all of this. But the reality is that the capitalist death cult doesn't care if they've met the criteria. It's like this is all happening and we've lost the awareness that what we are experiencing is a corporate coup. That in this period of time, we are not fighting against the white supremacists that exist in our society. I mean, they exist, and certainly we struggle against them constantly. But what we are actually struggling against, the true monster, the Voldemort, the Emperor at the top of all of this, is actually the corporate power structure that, now that it has seized power, and it has had power since at least 2008, if not earlier, it's seeking to dismantle any system that can stand up against it and remove its power legislatively. That is its goal. That is what it's attempting to do. And the reason why it acted so aggressively against these truckers is because the truckers were doing something that was effective. They were hitting these corporate owners right in the wallet, directly in the spot that it needs to be hit. And so now these corporations and the corporate owners of our society are making it very clear to us, if you do this, we will evoke heavy-handed dictatorial powers granted to our surrogates and courtiers that we appoint into the halls of power, and we will clear you out and arrest you, even if what you are doing has some legitimacy. The Canadian populace, majority of the Canadian populace, is actually in support of the evocation of the Emergency Measures Act. because of the let's say poorly organized nature of this truckers' convoy. Their anti-mandate position is not very popular. Their methods not very well appreciated. They've made lots of organizational and tactical errors in what they are doing. But what is frightening for someone like myself, who has been saying this entire time that we can learn from these protesters. So for example, if you move into an area, a city for example, maybe treat the people in the area with dignity and respect. Maybe try to win the hearts of minds of the locals. Maybe try to get them on your side. Maybe have like a clearly stated agenda that a majority position actually agrees with. Maybe be coherent in what you are doing. Maybe get ahead of your fringe elements. But now it's looking like all of that is for naught. Because if you start doing something that is effective, if you start doing something that works, they'll just pull out the hammer, pull out the nuke, evoke the Emergency Measures Act, and clear us out. Whether or not they meet the criteria or not, right? Whether they meet the criteria or not. That the corporate state is asserting itself and pushing forward in order to continue the stripping of our basic civil liberties, our right to assemble, our right to protest, and is moving in a direction in order to persistently suppress us so that when we are in the streets, because of the thorough abandonment by the death cult, they'll simply assault us with police officers. That's what they are saying. That's what they are doing. And Canadians are cheering it because they have been successfully pit against other members of the working class. This is exactly one of these moments where identity politics has overwhelmed class interests, where we have allowed a identity divide to wedge between these truckers, and we have allowed our cheerleading of their demise to overwhelm our senses. You genuinely think that if a conservative government gets in, right, or I should say when a conservative government gets in, and there are protests, that they're not going to use these powers? You genuinely think that what we are seeing is anything short of the normalization of the elimination of democratic proceedings? That is exactly the goal of the death cult. It is precisely the goal of the death cult in order to remove democratic proceedings. For goodness sakes, you've got Candice Bergen in the House essentially condemning communism openly. You think that if the communists actually managed to get together in order to fight back against the rampant homelessness, the spiking poverty, the destruction of the civil society, that they're not just going to evoke the Emergencies Act and clear us out? And should anyone complain, they'll just shrug and say, "Where were you when they were clearing out the trucker convoy?" These are dark days that we are walking into, and I am shocked that we are walking into them not grumbling at each other and grumbling into our cups, but we are doing it while cheerleading our own demise. Justin Trudeau is not your ally. He is not your friend. He's not trying to help anyone except himself and his corporate owners. It has become extremely obvious to anyone who cares to pay attention, but we're so easy to distract. It's so easy to confuse us. It's so easy to deflect us away from the larger enemy. All you've got to do is point at the extremist fringe elements within the movement now, say that they're extremely dangerous, and then declare their extraordinarily effective tactics as illegal, and then you can clear them out using an emergency act that was obviously designed for moments of war. Well, that's what they're doing to us. They're going to war against us. And when we are thrown into the streets, as poverty spikes, as homelessness spikes, as climate change burns our towns down, they've made it very clear they're not going to come out and talk to us. I think the most shocking part about all of this was that Justin Trudeau at no point came out and spoke with these protesters or even sent a delegation. There was no negotiation. There was no discussion. There was no attempt at diplomacy whatsoever, which makes sense, I suppose, given Canada's imperialist mindset, given its support for dictatorships and illegitimate governments, and its desire to foment coup across the globe. So it looks as though what we have done abroad, we are bringing back home. And as we begin to rise up in protest, the capitalist death cult is making it very clear. We will destroy you. This is the end of this video, guys. Like, share, subscribe. YouTube doesn't spread this stuff around. They're suppressing leftists, which has become very dangerous. The reason we're in the pickle that we're in is that leftists don't have a seat at the table. So it's just the fascists and the neoliberals talking to each other. So if you don't share it, no one sees it. I've got a Patreon down below. Again, we've got to support leftist voices. If we don't actually support leftist voices, then again, the only people in the conversation are neoliberals and fascists. Always remember, guys, you are a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the vain hope that you'll never realize it and you'll just stay a happy little commodity, begging for your own subservience. Rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.